Hi guys, Jane here. So here's another video for this week. It is about cyclothymia. What is cyclothymia? Let's get started. Disclaimer, I am not a mental health professional, therefore please do not use this video as a diagnostic tool. This is just a video that is designed to educate the general public about what cyclothymia is. So if you find yourself going like, oof, this sounds a lot like me, then please seek a mental health professional to actually get diagnosed and get the proper treatment as needed. Now, since I'm not a mental health professional, please feel free to leave any comments, suggestions, experiences, additional information, and even corrections in the comments down below so that you guys can make this platform more educational. Now, if you guys still want to confirm the validity of my research that I have extensively done, please check out the links that I've used in the description box below. And the thing is, these videos are not exhaustive, so if you want to find out more about a certain aspect of cyclothymia or just find out more about this disorder in general, please go check out the links down below or feel free to research yourself. Let's get started. What is cyclothymia? Cyclothymia is basically another type of bipolar disorder. It is a rare mood disorder. Many people don't really have this. But it is characterized by high and low episodes. However, it's just characterized by a series of hypomania and dysthymia. Now, those two might be new terms, so I'm going to be explaining it in my next segment. But as I told you guys before, there are 4 types of bipolar disorders. Type 1, Type 2, Cyclothymia, and NOS. The whole video is going to be about cyclothymia. However, at the last part of the video, I'm going to explain about NOS since I'm not going to be making a separate video for that, so please stay tuned. What are the symptoms for cyclothymia? Well, according to the DSM, you need to have many periods of hypomanic episodes and depressive episodes for at least 2 years. Now, that only goes for the adults. However, for children and teenagers, 1 year should suffice. Now, many of you guys might have been wondering, what is hypomania and what is dysthymia? Well, let's explain hypomania first. So, hypomania is basically like mania. They have the exact same symptoms. However, hypomania is lesser in intensity and duration than actual full-blown mania. Some of the symptoms that might occur in the hypomanic episode can be increased drive to perform activities or desired goals, decreased need for sleep, restlessness, inability to concentrate, tendency to be easily distracted, extreme optimism, inflated self-esteem, you name it. If you guys want to find out more about these kind of symptoms, please check out the Bipolar 1 video. Although it only talks about mania, mania and hypomania have the exact same symptoms, except hypomania is talking about the intensity of those symptoms, not the symptoms in general. So if you guys want a full list, or if you guys want a full explanation of what those symptoms are, please click on the Bipolar 1 video. Now, if there's going to be the highs, there's going to be the lows. What is dysthymia? Dysthymia is basically like depression. So like, remember how if there's mania, there's hypomania, right? Well, if there's the really rock bottom low major depressive disorder, there's going to be a dysthymia, which is not that intense or long as a major depression would. However, it's still below someone's baseline. Depression and dysthymia have the same exact symptoms. Remember, it's just the intensity that's different. So some of the symptoms that can portray in a dysthymic episode is like feeling sad, hopelessness, changes in weight and eating habits, fatigue, lack of concentration, loss of interest in activities that were once fun, and the person can feel suicidal. Now, the second thing that the DSM noted in the cyclothymic criteria is that the periods of stable moods must last for less than 2 months. So basically, people with cyclothymia can have euthymia. Now, euthymia is just a fancy word of saying normal mood. It just good feelings, just good moods. And they can have those periods of time. However, it can't last for more than 2 months. It has to be less than 2 months. Another condition for this criteria is that the symptoms cannot meet the criteria for bipolar type 1 and bipolar type 2. Also, your symptoms cannot be caused by drugs, alcohol, or another medical condition. They need to rule all of those things out first before they can diagnose someone with cyclothymia. Now, the risk factors, psychotherapy, and medication of cyclothymia is so similar with bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. If you guys want to find out more about the risk factors, psychotherapy, and the medications for cyclothymia, please check out this video. It's going to be the bipolar 1 video, because cyclothymia is very similar to bipolar type 1 and bipolar type 2. Then they have more of a chance of developing type 1 or type 2 in the future, which is pretty dangerous because they're more susceptible in getting those disorders. Also, there are many other problems that can arise if cyclothymia is not treated. People with cyclothymia are more likely to develop anxiety disorders, substance abuse disorders, increased risk of suicide, and severe emotional turbulence. So those are the complications that people with cyclothymia are up against. So prompt treatment is definitely encouraged. Now, what are the statistics of cyclothymia? Well, I'm just going to read it off here. And if you guys want to know where I got it, please go look at the links down below and you guys can find out where I got my statistics. It's really interesting. Number 1, patients with cyclothymic disorder are estimated to constitute from 3 to 10% of all psychiatric outpatients. Wow. Second, an estimated 10% of outpatients and 20% of inpatients with borderline personality disorder have a coexisting diagnosis of cyclothymia. So basically, the comorbidity of BPD and cyclothymia does exist. Number 3, the female to male ratio in cyclothymic disorder is approximately 3 to 2. So apparently there are more females that have cyclothymia than males in this particular disorder. Number 4, it is estimated that 50% to 75% of all patients develop the disorder between the ages 15 and 25. Number 5, in the general population, the lifetime chance of developing cyclothymic disorder is about 1%, which actually proves that cyclothymia is a rare mood disorder. Now, what are my final thoughts? Okay, so I just want to clear this because there is a very huge misconception that cyclothymia is not as serious as bipolar type 1 and bipolar type 2, just because it's less intense. I beg to differ, and that's completely not true, because the key takeaway is that cyclothymia has the potency in that person developing bipolar type 1 or type 2 in the future. That's the huge takeaway in this message. Therefore, we cannot underestimate the seriousness of cyclothymia. Just because it might be less intense than full-blown mania or major depression, that does not mean that people with cyclothymia have it any easier. People with cyclothymia must have prompt treatment so that they can decrease the chance of ever developing bipolar disorder in the future. So please do not think that people with cyclothymia have it any easier, because they don't. Now, in the beginning, basically, I said that I was going to explain NOS in this video. Now, what is NOS? NOS basically stands for not otherwise specified. Now, NOS is not really a diagnosis. It's basically a classification that mental health professionals use to document symptoms which are consistent with a certain disorder, but fall short of the criteria needed to make a definitive diagnosis. Now, what do I mean by that? So if a mental health professional diagnoses someone with bipolar NOS, basically they're saying, okay, so you do have bipolar symptoms, but you don't meet the criteria for bipolar type 1, bipolar type 2, or cyclothymia. These are some of the examples the DSM provides where a bipolar disorder NOS diagnosis is appropriate. Number 1. The person has experienced manic or depressive symptoms, but the episodes are too short to meet the criteria for type 1 and type 2. So basically, the person's mood can change from mania to depression like every few hours, but that's not the criteria needed for bipolar type 1 and bipolar type 2. Bipolar type 1 and bipolar type 2 both have a longer duration of these episodes, but people who are super duper fast or they change really, really fast from like hours or even days, they would be given an NOS diagnosis. Number 2, the person has experienced hypomania and depression. However, the episodes are too short to qualify as a cyclothymic disorder. So basically, they might have hypothymia and dysthymia. However, instead of having it for 2 years, they only had it for 6 months. So like, it doesn't even meet the criteria for cyclothymia. The person may have multiple episodes of hypomania or mania, however, they never had any depressive episodes. So that might be another example. Another example is that the person does meet the criteria for bipolar disorder, but the doctor suspects that something else is causing those symptoms, such as drugs, neurological disorders, or even alcohol. Thank you so much for watching. I make videos every Mondays, and so please stay tuned for more videos, and I hope you guys have a really good week. This video actually concludes our bipolar series because, as I told you guys before, even though bipolar disorder is under the umbrella of mood disorders, bipolar disorder is an umbrella itself, given that there are 4 types of bipolar disorder. So we've listed all 4 types, and so next week is going to be about... I wonder what it's going to be about. Stay tuned. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end of completing this.
I thought you finished when you paused.
I'm not done. So thank you so much for watching. Sorry. Thank you so much for watching.